Yeah, beautiful dance, and I always love doing that. We were doing this recently a couple of weeks ago, and it's very moving. The Course in Miracles recommends that we simply try on this affirmation: I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. And what's prompted me to choose this theme this evening is that over the last 2 weeks, a number of people have been saying to me that they dread this time of year. In the Northern Hemisphere, of course, it's the beginning of winter, and here in Britain, we've changed the time of the clocks, and so we have very dark evenings, and the mornings are very cold now, and so it's not so easy to get up and to get out to work and so on. And in the evenings, it's very cold. It's not so tempting to go out to social activities. So a lot of people kind of start a hibernation at this time of year. And I have a lot of sympathy with that because I've been there myself. In my early 40s, I'll be 68 next month actually. But in my early 40s, I went through a very dark period, kind of a dark inner period. And of course, the dark time of the year really resonates with any darkness that we're holding inside of us. So just over 20 years ago, I did go through a difficult time every winter, dreading every winter, and actually was diagnosed as suffering from seasonal affective disorder, sometimes called SAD for short, SAD, seasonal affective disorder, which is attributed to the declining daylight and the effect on the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and so on. And I kind of believe this, actually. When you're giving a diagnosis by an expert, you tend to accept it. And of course, there's always a danger. Our beliefs are so powerful, and what we believe, we tend to live out in our life. And I think that accepting that diagnosis was not particularly helpful, because what I did was to fill my house and my workplace with special daylight fluorescent tubes and fluorescent lights, and certainly that did help a little bit, but it didn't take away this kind of gloom and this anxiety, particularly in the early part of the winter, but sometimes spreading all through the winter. So I spent a couple of years on medication because of this. And then I was very fortunate to find healers and teachers who helped me to heal the darkness which had accumulated within me through various things that had happened in my life. So I started to bring to the surface this darkness with some good help, and to shine a bit of a light on it and turn around some very painful memories into more life-affirming memories through the power of healing. And so for over 20 years now, I haven't needed any medication, and I haven't used any special lighting during the winter months. And the journey that I travelled as part of my healing journey was partly about finding the inner light, finding that divine light within us. And of course, this affirmation from A Course in Miracles, I am as God created me, if you can say that to yourself convincingly, then you immediately have made that connection to the divine, to that divine inner light. And I think what also comes out of the healing is the healing journey that I travelled was finding the inner light of other people as well out in the world. Because after traumatic experiences and painful losses, it's very natural for us to withdraw. Even in animals, in my first career I used to be a veterinarian, and so in animals, a sick animal will withdraw from the flock or from the herd if it's suffered some kind of trauma or feeling under the weather. The first thing it does is to withdraw and do a bit of self-healing. So as my healing progressed, I started to connect more with the inner light in other people. And in a way, my journey, I think, was very meaningful, because as a result, as many people find, I guess, and perhaps some of you guys have found this as well, that it's the really hard times in life which help us to connect more deeply to other people. I always remember one of my students many years ago, when I used to teach veterinary medicine, one of my students coming to see me because I had pastoral duties towards trainees. One of my students came to see me and explained that his girlfriend had lost a close member of her family and was absolutely devastated. And he said, you know, I don't know what to do. He said, nothing bad has ever happened to me in my life, and so I just can't relate to the feelings that she's going through. So I guess that's definitely the upside of the dark periods in our life, that they do encourage us to connect to others, and they take us to that deeper place within ourselves, take us away from the external activities. And certainly that's what I do at this time of year now. Yes, I will spend time on my own and go within myself in meditation and in prayer and in other spiritual practices. And then what I find there, I will share with other people who similarly are on a similar path of deeper connection. So I think that's the miracle of going into painful loss and trauma, and then the journey out again into the light. But somehow that light is brighter, the inner light is brighter than it ever was before. And other people see that, and other people connect as well as me connecting to others. So now the winter doesn't hold any dread for me, and I look forward to the special pleasures of winter, the snow, and I think also the warm firesides and those cosy gatherings, and of course the festive season of Christmas and New Year for some of us can be very important times for gathering and for celebrating being alive, for dancing and for singing. And so this is why I chose a particular video clip to share with you of dancing and singing, because I think it's nice to dance and sing at any time of year, but certainly at this time of year we probably need it more than ever, and we can more appreciate the great magic that's in singing and dancing. And because of my involvement in the shamanic tradition for some time, I know that tribal shamans, of course, for an indigenous people, they don't have hospitals and they don't have medical facilities and modern medicines as we have. So they will go to the tribal healer. And many of these tribal healers, I know, have the first thing they will ask is, when did you stop singing? When did you stop dancing? In other words, when did your light of the divine start to have a shadow cast on it, or start to diminish, really? And of course that's quite valid, I think. I think those moments when we go into a kind of a quietness, a bit of retreat from life to go within, and our flame isn't burning so brightly, but then we can find things within that we can take outwards and we can share with others, as we are doing in Dose for Peace in such a beautiful way. I'd like to share with you a particular practice that I find very helpful at this time of year in order to stay connected and not to go into that kind of panic mode or self-identification with a very diminished sense of self, which I suppose is at the heart of the experience of seasonal affective disorder. I've been there, so I know what it's like. It can be quite overwhelming. We're suddenly a much reduced kind of person, very disempowered, very prone to dark moods and dark thoughts. And when we use the breath as like a tide of purification, then a lot of this can be swept away rather well, and the divine light can show through much better. The divine, for me, coming because of my involvement in shamanism, the divine lies in two directions. So it lies in the heavenly direction, but also in the earthly direction, in terms of connecting to Mother Earth. And in this practice I want to share with you, which is called the 5 element breaths, and it comes out of the Sufi tradition, a Middle Eastern tradition actually. But I've worked with it and developed it over a period of time because it's worked so well for me and for my clients and for my trainee healers. And the very first breath is called the earth breath. There's a sequence of 5 breaths, and we begin with the earth breath. And this is very much about connecting heaven and earth actually. So in the earth breath we breathe in and out through the nose. The inspiration is in through the nose and the expiration is out through the nose. So you might just like to try that for a couple of moments now. Let's just try that. The immediate sense that I get is that connection to the body. So immediately when I'm away in my mind, away, lost in my thoughts, spaced out, that movement of air through the narrow entrance to the nose just brings me back to the body, helps to ground me certainly. I should say that in all these breaths it's important to put in 2 pauses so that we don't overbreathe, become lightheaded. So after each in-breath there's a pause, and after each out-breath there's a pause. And in this in-breath we can pull in an affirmation, we can do some auto-suggestion, we can use words, whichever particular words are very grounding for you. So perhaps the word groundedness, or earth, or Mother Earth, inner strength, stability, rootedness. Maybe you have some words like these which could go very well with this sense of breathing in and out through the nose. There's also a visualization that we can bring in. And the visualization is that when we breathe in, then our energy, the energy of the breath, if you visualize it going right down into the earth, and then when you breathe out, that is drawn up from the earth and then out through the nose. So in through the nose, down to the earth, like the roots of a tree if you like, and then coming up and out through the nose. So let's have a go at that for a couple of moments. Bringing in some affirmations: groundedness, stability, rootedness, inner strength, and combining that with a visualization. So the in-breath, the energy of the in-breath goes right down and then it comes up and out through the nose in the out-breath. Let's try that for a couple of moments. What I find is that I immediately start to experience the symptoms of entering a meditative state. So I feel some salivation, and I feel a slowing of my breath, and a relaxation of my body, and a kind of heaviness of my body, which does help to ground me. Because of course those anxious thoughts, which people I've been speaking to in the last 2 weeks, who are beginning to be tortured already this time of year by those very negative thoughts, and just a pervasive sense of insecurity. And this practice is a great antidote for that. So I feel that kind of heaviness, so that's helping to contribute to my groundedness. So that was the earth breath. The second element that we come to is the water breath. And here we're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Again with a pause at the end of the in-breath, pause at the end of the out-breath. Sometimes this breath is called a reflective breath because it's very good at putting us in touch with our feelings, and it's used by a lot of healers, including myself, to connect clients with their emotions if they are very attached to thinking. And you say, how do you feel? And they answer, oh, I think I'm all right, or I think I'm okay, or maybe they just say I'm okay. Well, I'm okay is not a feeling, it's a judgment, something that goes on in the mind. So people, you can tell immediately if they will benefit from the water breath, because if you say, how do you feel? They will answer with a thought or with a judgment. So let's have a go at the water breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And what we can do is that as we breathe in through the nose, the visualization would be of standing in a waterfall, and so the water cascading down. As the breath comes in and the energy of the breath goes down, then imagine that's the cascading down of the water of standing under a waterfall. So that's the in-breath, and then when we breathe out through the mouth, as the breath rises up in our body, imagine that it's actually a spring of water coming up from the earth and out through the mouth. So there's the cascade of a waterfall coming down, and then a spring of water springing up from the earth, coming out through the mouth. And at the same time we can bring in some autosuggestive words, which can be very powerful. So we can use words like purification, I purify myself, I cleanse myself of negativity, I refresh myself, I am renewing myself. See if you can find some words around these to go with this water breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let's try that for a couple of moments. So how was that for you? So that's the water breath, a cleansing breath. For myself, as you'll appreciate, I had a very stressful entry to doing this broadcast this evening. And so I was holding quite a lot of tension and anxiety, and I could just feel that breath just washing away all this anxiety and tension in my body, and was much appreciated. I should say that this is because so many people are affected by the change in the season at this time of year, and the change in their activities and drop in social activities for many people. So because of those things, I tend to be particularly busy at this time of year, and I have been incredibly busy last week and this week. So my apologies again for the troublesome start to the broadcast. I do feel somewhat calmer after the water breath, but I think that ideally I would get up at this point and I would, maybe I will do this, maybe I will do this. So if it puts you in touch with a bit of shakiness, let's say, because you've just been through a bit of stress, or because you're feeling affected by the change of the seasons or whatever, then of course the great thing would be something which is called shaking medicine. Let's see if I can just do a little bit of shaking medicine. So shaking medicine, obviously just shaking the whole body. And it's interesting for me because coming from a background as a veterinarian, the number one stress technique that many animals and birds use is to shake themselves. Of course, many animals and birds are more close to their wild ancestors than we are. And so they have a lot of these survival mechanisms still. And if an animal suffers a traumatic experience, or a bird suffers a traumatic experience, it can't kind of collapse down and it can't go into depression and all that kind of thing, because a predator will soon finish it off. So they just have this instinctive mechanism. You see it with dogs when they get wet, they instinctively shake and shake off all the cold water. But it happens with birds as well. If you pick up a duck, for example, that isn't used to being picked up, and then put it down again, you'll find it immediately will shake itself. And if you see animals that fight, or birds which engage in some conflict, usually afterwards they will kind of shake. So it's a very ancient method for shaking off stress. And in fact, there is quite a tradition in many shamanic cultures. Shaking is done usually to drum beats or to music, and you can acquire special pieces of music to help you with shaking. And there is a book actually called Shaking Medicine, which gives a history of a very long, thousands of years history of this tradition. So, okay, so that's the water breath. Now we come to the fire breath, because of course many people at this time of year do feel a drop in energy. They just haven't got the motivation, the inspiration, the energy to go out and do things, and work seems much more tedious. So many of us can benefit from accessing a bit of fire energy at this time of year. The fire energy breath is the opposite of the water breath. So in the water breath we breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. With the fire breath we're going to breathe in through the mouth and out through the nose. And we can again use autosuggestion words like warmth, energy, radiance, assertiveness, passion, enthusiasm. All these kind of fire energy words, we can say them as we're practicing this particular fire element breath. And the visualization which goes with this involves the solar plexus, because of course the solar plexus is named after the sun, the solar energy, and a lot of energy healers are aware that the solar plexus is an area where we pick up a lot of energies from the environment around us. And when it comes to sunbathing, of course, people will lie on the beach and soak up the sun in this solar plexus area. So the visualization we can use is to just visualize the sun in front of us, maybe lying on a beach on our back, and the warm sun just warmly giving us a hug on the solar plexus. So you visualize this warmth and radiance of the sun coming in at the solar plexus. This is on the in-breath, and then coming up to the heart, and then from the heart radiating out in all directions. So here we're not closely following the energy of the breath as we did with the other two visualizations. This is a little bit more distant, but those of you who are good at visualizations will find it easy. Some of you may have to rely more on the autosuggestion words. So that's the visualization really, that on the in-breath we visualize drawing in the energy of the sun through the solar plexus. So we're drawing in the energy of the sun here, it rises up to the heart, and then from the heart it radiates out forwards, sideways, backwards, in all directions from the heart. And that is our personal radiance, our personal warmth. which of course the greatest human warmth comes from the heart, as we all know in Dose for Peace. So perhaps you'd like to try this for a couple of moments. The fire element breath, breathing in through the mouth, out through the nose, and visualizing the sun coming into the solar plexus on the in breath, and then that energy rising to the heart. And then on the out breath, we're not just breathing out through the nose, but we're radiating out energy from all directions from our heart. Okay, let's move on to the air breath. The air breath is simply in and out through the mouth. And the air breath is a chance for us to connect to our boundaries. So the visualization that goes with this breathing in and out through the mouth of the air breath is that we're breathing in and out through our skin. And this is very important in connection to relationships, to creating boundaries if people are unduly demanding or unduly bullying or anything like that around us, abusive, negative energies, then we can use this air breath just to make us, it's like creating a little cocoon around us based on our skin, which of course is our natural boundary. And the auto-suggestion words here are lightness, connection, spontaneity, creativity. So it's like our whole boundary is our interactive sphere, and so we're breathing in and out through our interactive sphere. And it's very good, amongst other things, it's very good for reminding us that our body language is our most powerful communicator. The body language speaks louder than any words that we use. So let's try this air breath, which is breathing in and out through the mouth, and the visualization in and out through the skin. Connection, spontaneity, harmonious relationship. This is very useful in close families and close friends. There can be a lot of entanglement, and we can feel ourselves being lost in other people's situations, dramas, stresses and so on. And this is a very good breath in those situations. The final breath, the final element breath is called the ether breath. And the ether breath is really where we came in on this broadcast today. This is about our spiritual connection, identifying with our spiritual body or our spiritual self. And so in the ether breath, we breathe in and out through the mouth and the nose simultaneously. But the breath is very subtle, very, very slight and subtle. There's no noise, there's very little sense of the air moving. It's so subtle. There is no visualization which goes with this, because it is about not being grounded. It is about being in our spiritual identity. The kind of auto-suggestion words we can use to help would be transcendence, liberation, wisdom, compassion. I am spirit, I am pure spirit, I am a ray of the divine. Those kind of auto-suggestions can be used with this breath. And it's a good way when everyday life is dragging us down. This is a great way to just take a break and to get a sense of perspective from, you could say, rising above the everyday dramas and stresses for a couple of moments. So let's try this ether breath, just in and out, very, very shallow, very imperceptible breath through the nose and the mouth. I always feel very light when I do that. So when we are feeling a bit too dense and heavy and you could say too dragged down, then this is a great breath to do, the ether element breath. And I certainly felt it then, this sense of lightness, which is quite nice. If you would like an illustrated sheet, I can email an illustrated sheet of this practice for anybody who would like to see it written down. You can contact me via my website. Just put this up here. You can contact me there and I will email you an illustrated guide to these 5 element breaths. I hope they've been of interest to you this evening. I've loved being with you. And I would like to end with a prayer, which is often called the shaman's prayer for strength and wisdom. And so at this time of year, strength and wisdom can be particularly important for us, apart from dealing with our own sense of accommodating to the changing seasons and our changing lifestyle as we enter winter. We have to deal with people around us, and quite a lot of people get quite grumpy at this time of year, maybe a bit less cooperative, and so we need a bit of extra strength and wisdom in order to not take that personally, in order to be show a little bit more compassion and mercy to those and patience to those around us who are suffering at this time of year. So the shaman's prayer for strength and wisdom. O great spirit, whose voice I hear in the wind, whose breath gives life to all the world, hear me, I need your strength and wisdom. Let me walk in beauty. Make mine eyes ever behold the red and purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things you have made, my ears sharp to hear your voice of guidance. Make me wise so that I may understand the things you have taught my people. Help me to remain calm and strong in the face of all that comes towards me. Let me learn the lessons you have hidden in nature, in every leaf and every rock. Help me to seek pure thoughts and to act with the intention of helping others. Please help me to find compassion without sympathy overwhelming me. I seek strength not to be greater than my brother or sister, but to fight my greatest enemy, myself. Make me always ready to come to you with clean hands and straight eyes, so that when life fades as the fading sunset, my spirit may come to you without shame. I'd like to leave you with some more film of dancing and singing along the theme of our divine nature. I am as God created me.